All right, what's going on? Trey Daubert here, founder, CEO, Don, VendettaSportsMedia.com. We did the quarterbacks, running backs already. Those videos should be up or are about to be up. Today, we're doing the wide receivers. I'm recording this early in the morning before the Kansas State, Iowa State Week 0 Farmageddon game in Ireland. So, again, these fantasy videos should be out shortly. The OnlyFans, cheese, you know where to come if you want to win your fantasy league. So, let's get started here. And again, if you're new here, the whole purpose behind the cheese list, we're crossing names off. We're trying to avoid the landmines because sometimes it's not about who you pick. A lot of the times it's about who you don't pick, and let the other people in your league fall into the traps that make them lose. So that's what we're here to do, discuss today. Name number one on the list here is Malik Nabers. And if we just go back to last year, so again, just for cross-reference, I'm not going to use ESPN. They use PPR rankings. It's utterly disgusting that anybody plays PPR. If you want the extra point for that kind of stuff, you should play the first down created rule. Really shouldn't be that difficult to explain. So last year, he finishes as wide receiver 8. He had 170 fucking targets, which was number 2 in the NFL. By the way, in 15 games, so he would have been number 1 in the NFL by a wide fucking margin. Now, he was wide receiver 8, mostly with no quarterback play. He still has no quarterback play. But he had 170 fucking targets. Okay. Now, if we go back to last year, for anybody that remembers this, there was that game. I believe it was the Dallas game. I could be mistaken on that. I'll have to go double check that. There was that game in the middle of the season. You'll be able to find that press conference if you want to go look for it yourself. Basically, where the Giants had no chance to make the playoffs. They were already out of it. And Malik Nabers starts acting like a fucking asshole, where he demands the ball over and over and over again. Long story short, he basically said, I don't care if we win, I just want the ball. Not those exact words, but that's basically what he said. And then from there on, the amount of targets that fucking guy got, it was totally outrageous. So let's go back to the rankings for where people have Nabers. It's just weird to me. Wide receiver 4 seems high. Wide receiver 6, more reasonable, but it looks like they just moved him down. They just moved him down. So they had him at 4, they just moved him down to 6. And they got him at wide receiver 7. That feels a lot more reasonable to me. I guess Barry's the only one that I'm like, that's ridiculous. I mean, this is ridiculous. Not saying he's a bad football player. That's never been my stance with Malik Nabers. What I'm simply telling you is I believe in patterns. I believe the signs repeat over time. And this sure feels like a lot like the Odell versus Mike Evans situation, where after his rookie year, nobody would have told you that Mike Evans was better than Odell, except for me. I've been on that side from the jump. You can double check my draft notes if you want to. After Odell's rookie year, which they were both in the same draft class, nobody would have told you Mike Evans was the better player. But that's the way this is going to go. You can believe me or not, I think the pattern is going to repeat here. The more consistent, reliable, more dominant over the long-term period of time will be Marvin Harrison. Nabers, now, I think he'll be a better version of Odell, which is a nice fantasy piece. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not willing to call him one of the 3-4 best receivers in football right now, especially with the quarterback situation. So, first, he's going to get Russell Wilson, who has nothing left. He's totally fucking washed up. Now, the Giants and Steelers offense are a little bit different in terms of what they want to try to achieve with Brian Daboll and Arthur Smith. Putting that to the side, Russell Wilson has absolutely nothing left. He couldn't sustain Pickens last year, outside of a couple games, really. at some point, Jackson Dart's going to step in. Here's the thing with Jackson Dart. I really worry about his eye level, and it's probably going to affect what happens in fantasy. So let me explain by saying this. In college, a lot of the time, they ran this RPO system with Lane Kiffin. If the first, outside of the RPO stuff, this is just a characteristic on Dart. Maybe this part will change. I doubt it. When his first read wasn't open in college, his eye level came down, and he always looked to run. Even though he's not a Hurts runner, he wants to try to be. So it's very possible that, hey, his first read is Nabers, and then he takes off and runs. But his first read ain't going to be Nabers 100% of the time. So at some point, Dart's going to get in there. I don't see how he sustains Nabers. Your best case scenario is if Jameis starts. If Jameis starts, by all means. By all means. I just don't see that as a real possibility. Like, once they switch from Russ, I would imagine they're going to go to Dart. Like, are they really going to go from Dart to Winston? I feel like the only way Winston actually gets into the games is if Dart gets hurt and they're over Russell Wilson. Like, I would imagine that Jameis is probably third in the rotation. Now, maybe that lines up for the fantasy playoffs. Who the hell knows? Oh, the Giants are such a fucking mess. They're a complete dog shit organization. I don't know how Joe Shane still has a job after that Hard Knocks thing. It's completely fucking laughable that they canceled that series for telling the truth. But that's another story for another day. Nabers. Do you really think he's going to get 170 targets through 15 games? Because that's fucking insane. I don't see it. So just like, look, they could target the fuck out of him. He could have 140 targets and still get targets out the fucking ass. So yeah, look, if his quarterback, let's say his quarterback was Mahomes, rank him 4. If his quarterback was Burrow, you want to rank him 4? Fine. I ain't ranking him 4 with Russell Wilson. Just not doing it. So I'm pretty out on Nabers at this cost, especially since that, like, I would rather pick Harrison every fucking year. Like 2025, 2026, 2027. You name the fucking year, I'll take Harrison over him, and I'll bet you he outscores him way more often than Nabers will outscore him. And by the way, I actually think Brian Thomas is the better play in fantasy for this season. Just for this season. Again, snapshot and moment of time. Last year, Nabers bitched his ass off, got his fucking way, got the targets. Who's to say the next time he doesn't bitch that it doesn't go the other way? Where he bitches for targets, he has a fucking nuclear meltdown, and then he's not even in the game. If Dayball has any balls, that would be what happens. But we'll see on that. Either way, ranking him as a top 5, 6, 7 wide receiver, not doing that. Not yet, at least. Not saying he can't be that high eventually. I'm not. Again, we talk about progression isn't always linear. Jumping the gun way too early on this Nabers thing. So that's where I stand on that. Person number 2, and I hate putting this person on the list, but it's just how I feel. And again, when I say this, keep in mind, we were the first website that put you onto this guy because our Senior Bowl notes, Garrett was at the Senior Bowl that year, said he was the best player at the Senior Bowl. We're the only draft site that actually hyped this guy up, but we're putting Nakua on the cheese list. Hate to do it. I really do, but it doesn't really make a ton of sense where they have him ranked, at least. So if we just go back to the fantasy finishes last year, Nakua was wide receiver 33. Now, he only played 11 games. That matters a lot, right? He still had 990 yards and 3 scores. We'll talk about this part, which is the main part that I worry about. But, and again, maybe touchdown luck goes on his side this year. Either way, He's gotten hurt a lot in the past. It's very possible he misses games again this year. Let's put that stuff to the side. Where he's been ranked right now. Wide receiver 7 on Fantasy Pros. They just moved him down, so it looks like he used to be wide receiver 6. Matthew Berry's got him wide receiver 6. These fucking assholes, they just copy each other. It's so funny. And Fantasy Sharks got him at wide receiver 5. That's absurd. That's absurd. Let's talk about why. First of all, how is nobody worried about Matthew Stafford? Because I'm terrified. Like, I don't like just penciling in Stafford to not take a step back is crazy to me. Last year, played in 16 games. He had 20 fucking touchdowns. He had 20 fucking touchdowns. The year before that, he had 24. The year before that, he had fucking 10. He's close to done. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know why everyone's pretending that he's still fucking wonderful. Great quarterback. In 2014, 2012, like, great quarterback back then. I mean, this is a young man's game. He's very much on his last legs. He's dealing with a serious back injury. If he makes it through a fully healthy season, I'd be stunned. Either way, Kyron Williams is scoring all the fucking touchdowns because that's just how it is. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. They getting close. Kyron Williams is scoring the fucking touchdowns because he just does. He scores every fucking week. If I'm only getting, hey, maybe that number's 24 again. Best case scenario looks like that number's 24. I might get fucking 16. Either way, there ain't a lot of touchdowns up for grabs here. There's just not a lot of touchdowns up for grabs here. And it seems like Nacua does a lot of his damage in terms of what the Rams want him to do between the 20s. Hey, get us in range. Kyron will do the rest. Now let's add in Devontae Adams. Guess what Devontae Adams does? He scores touchdowns all the fucking time. 2024, he had 8. Then he had 8. Then he had 14. Then he had 18. Then he had 18. He's going to get the touchdowns. You can believe me on that or not. It's just what he does. He's so good in terms of creating separation in the short areas. He's going to get scores. Just how it is. He always scores. And, okay, yeah, he's going to be 33. He ain't done yet. Not saying he's the old Devontae Adams, but he ain't done yet. So let's really track this and go back and really think about this. So you're going to put Nacua as like a top 5, 6 wide receiver. When Stafford doesn't have anything left. Or if he does have anything left, it's this much left. Kyron Williams scores all the fucking touchdowns. Now you bring in Devontae Adams, who's going to steal all the other receiving touchdowns. And the bottom line here is like, okay, let's say Stafford throws 20 touchdowns again. Let's just go with that number. Maybe it'll be higher. Maybe it'll be lower. Adams is getting 8. Mix in a couple for the tight end, Ferguson. Maybe somebody else catch like a Tutu Atwell deep ball. He'll probably get maybe 1 or 2. My best case scenario is maybe Nacua gets 6. That's if he's healthy, which he really hasn't been. Seems like he's always getting hurt, which I think should also be factored in. Again, I love this player. I would love to have him at wide receiver 15, but that's not where he's going. And if this is where he's being priced, you're insane. You're just insane. So, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to put Nacua on the list. We put him on the list last year. We were right last year. They haven't learned their lesson. And again, if Mahomes was his quarterback, I wouldn't be having this conversation. The bottom line is we could be seeing Stetson Bennett out there. It's very possible that Stetson Bennett starts a handful of games. And if that's the case, guess what? You ain't getting 20 passing touchdowns anymore. you're getting more Stetson Bennett rushing touchdowns. So we're not doing this Nacua thing. We're at this current price, we're not doing this Nacua thing. Next. Hate to put this guy on the list too, because I think he works hard. He's a former middle round pick that's hit. He's strong. Lifts weights. Really like this player. I don't know how you're not worried about St. Brown. Because I am. Let's go back to last year. Last year, he finishes as wide receiver 3. This year, they have him ranked 8, which is actually it looks like they just moved him down. So he used to be 5. They got him at 7, Barry. And fantasy. Wow, they have him at 10. See, you know what? The fantasy sharks actually, guys, they might be a little bit smarter than the rest of these people, just from what I'm seeing. Anyway, which isn't a surprise because they're one of the few that took a chance on Trey back in the day. Here's what I worry about with St. Brown. He'll get his targets. Those target numbers will probably be there. Probably, right? But the last 2 years, all right, so last year is at 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. Last year is at 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns. And we talked about this in the cheese episode. Somebody's going to, if Goof is going to take a step back, somebody's got to take a dip. Which is basically what this comes down to. So Goof, he threw for 37 touchdowns last year. Ben Johnson ain't walking through those doors. Enter Rick Pitino meme. Ben Johnson ain't walking through those doors anymore. He's now crossing the threshold into age 31 season. If this number simply comes down to 30, which I think it might come down to 25, somebody's taking a step back. And I think it'll probably be St. Brown. Now, Jameson will still be awesome in the best ball. Don't have to care when to start him. He'll get his big plays. He'll get his big yardage. I just worry about, like, if Goof isn't that top end Goof, that production is coming from somewhere. My guess is it would come from St. Brown. So again, we're looking for snapshots and moment of time. That 12 touchdown season is gone. What's he going to do in 2025? We want to look forward to 2025. If that touchdown number comes down to like 6 or 7, he's way overvalued. So again, St. Brown has been like a mainstay the last 2 years in the top 10. I would not take him in the top 10 this year. I don't know how you're not worried about this Lions offense. I'm fucking nervous about this Lions offense. Not saying they're going to be fucking terrible. Not saying that they're the Jets, but it's hard not to be worried that they don't take at least a step back. And if they take a step back, that production's coming from somewhere. I don't think it's coming from Gibbs. I think Gibbs will be fine regardless, just because he's literally in his prime. He's got the speed on his side. Their offensive line's still good. They're going to give him the ball in the passing and the rushing game. I think his touchdown numbers will probably still be there, just because when they get in close, if it's not going, it's going to Malcolm or Gibbs, just how it's been. Again, with this St. Brown thing, a lot of it is if Goof takes a step back, it's got to come from somewhere. And B, last year, Laporta was actually the one that suffered in that department. What happens if Laporta comes back to normal a little bit and James keeps getting better too? Again, we're shaving like branches off the tree here basically with St. Brown. I'm simply telling you, I have him at like 13, 14, which shouldn't be viewed as disrespectful. It's simply a fact of the situation. And if those things come true, he's not finishing in the top 10. Next name on the list. I guess this guy's going to be on the list every single fucking year. Drake London. Now, we'll talk about this more for the Matthew Berry challenge because he's going to be a name on the list. Matthew Berry's argument is he believes Drake London will take the next step and be a real wide receiver 1. Again, he's on record for this. You can watch his show if you want to. He believes that Drake London will be in that Chase, Jefferson, Lamb category. I think he's a fucking crackhead. So let's just go back to last year. And again, I don't think he'll ever top what he did last year. So he finishes as wide receiver 6. And if we go to, by the way, he played every fucking game, which wasn't the case for everybody else. Again, we go to these target numbers. He was 3rd in targets. So he had 158 targets, which is banana land. Is he really going to out-target Lamb and Jefferson again? I wouldn't bank on that. By the way, look at the target numbers for Wan'Dale Robinson. Absurd. Anyway, so he's wide receiver 6 here, which doesn't seem accurate for some reason. Anywho, he's never doing this again. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He's never doing this again. Where is he being ranked? Fantasy Pros got him at 9. Barry's got him at 9. Fantasy Sharks got him at 9. Do not listen to these people. They're fucking insane. They have no idea what they're talking about. Here's the thing with London. He's tall. I will grant him that. He's fucking terrible at separation. His hands aren't terrible, but he's terrible at separation. He needs to be in the slot to win. Has to be. Last year was really the first year they used him that way, which is why he did what he did. This year, teams are more ready for it. Defenses always adjust. They're not going to be thrown off by that again. Again, last year was the first year of the Zach Robinson thing. We talked about in the quarterback episode where, hey, Bobby Slowick, he comes in, they have a great fucking season, and then their offense takes a major step back because teams actually figure out what they did because they were too predictable and didn't adapt. I would imagine that's going to happen with Zach Robinson. Everybody and their mother knows that Drake London is basically a glorified slot tight end now, which is a big problem for Kyle Pitts, but that is what it is. You can argue with a fucking wall. You can pull up his utilization. They line him in the slot constantly. He's a fucking tight end. Who's to say those target numbers will be there again? Is he really going to be the 3rd most targeted player in the NFL? Maybe, but I wouldn't bank on that. B, defenses are going to be far more ready for the fact that he's a glorified slot tight end. C, he's just not that fucking good. Don't give a fuck what anybody says. Don't give a fuck what anybody says. He's not a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. He's just not. He's closer to wide receiver 30 in terms of talent. In terms of talent, he's closer to wide receiver 30 than he is 10. And then D, we've just like magically fucking convinced ourselves, which I'm not in this game. I guess everybody else is. We've just magically convinced ourselves that Penix is a franchise quarterback. Like, what the fuck has Penix done to prove that he can fucking sustain that type? Because, like, if you're taking Drake London and he's going to get that many targets, he should finish as a top 5 wide receiver, which he's never doing that again. He's never doing that again. Again, we look for snapshots and moment of time. How much better can he get? He's already outproduced what he can do. He's going to be the fucking Ayuk. Again, if you can go double fact check me on this. Sometimes the snapshots and moment of time don't work in our favor simply because blind squirrel finds a nut. Even if the guy's not that good, maybe he'll have one outlier season. Just how it is. He is the Brandon Ayuk. Where that one season that Brandon Ayuk had that fucking monster season and then hasn't replicated it since, that will be Drake London. The moment that Drake London gets paid, he'll never come close to that again. Now, he hasn't been paid yet, but I worry about Penix. Like, he's a fucking disaster. Like, this idea that Penix is going to be a franchise quarterback is fucking laughable. Now, the good thing about Penix is he won't be Kirk Cousins in the sense that he's going to give London more opportunities in the fuck it. Why not? I'll just air it out. Now, he'll come away with some of those. But in the long haul, over the long season, this Penix thing ain't going to work. Over the course of the next 5 years or whatever, this Penix thing ain't going to work. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He can't bend his knees. He's way too straight-legged in the front plant leg. He's had too many knee injuries. In terms of the NFL speed of the game, it's not going to work long-term. It's just not. So, how many touchdowns is Penix going to score? This offense runs through Bijan Robinson. And I'm just not willing to take a glorified slot tight end in the top 10. So, I don't know how much more there is to say, but I'll bet anybody any amount of money he ain't a top 10 fantasy wide receiver this year. You want to, hey, feel free to comment. You disagree? I'll bet you whatever you want. There ain't a chicken dick's chance he's a top 10 wide receiver. Next, T. Higgins. I hate doing this, but I'm a little concerned. So let's just boil this down. Fantasy Pros got him at 12. Seems high to me. Barry's got him at 12. These motherfuckers are so embarrassing. Fantasy Sharks got him at 11. Last year he finished at 19 in 12 games. So he's gotten hurt a lot. He's going to miss games just because it seems that he always misses games. Just what seems to happen. Now, maybe he'll finally get hurt this year, but he's always getting nicked up, dude. 16, 14, 16, 12, 12. I would imagine that number is probably going to be around 12, 10, 14. He's going to miss a couple games. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver season since 2022. And when he has, he's barely fucking cracked it. Barely fucking cracked it. He's not the number one target in his own team. Last year, he had 10 touchdowns in 12 games. He's never come close to that number before. Any other year, he's been at 6, 6, 7, 5. My guess is 2025 rolls around, he's around this 6, 6, 7, 5 number, not 10. And the other thing with Higgins, and again, I guess this should be obvious. Chase is the motherfucker on the team. So why would you take Higgins as like a wide receiver 10, 11, 12, something like that, when he's not the number one on his own team? Like, I'll give you a perfect example. You're passing on other guys who are the number ones on their team. You're passing on an A.J. Brown, who's the number one on the Eagles, a Ladd McConkey, who's the number one on the Chargers, even a Garrett Wilson, who's the number one on the Jets, a Marvin Harrison, who's the number one on the Cardinals, a Mike Evans, who's the number one on the Bucks. You know, like, I get it. This Bengals offense should be good. I get it. They have Burrow. Oh, wow, we're going a little high there, aren't we? Little high. I'm not willing to do wide receiver 12 for a guy who's not the fucking number one on his own team. A guy who's missed a lot of games. A guy who really barely ever cracked 1,000 yards. A guy who scored double-digit touchdowns for the first time in his career and has never come close otherwise. Now, he's still young. He's still a good player. The regression part of it isn't a concern. The part I'm concerned about is, do we understand the kind of season that he has to have in order to finish as wide receiver 12 while Chase is on the fucking team? Because here's the other thing. Yossi Voss, he can kind of play. Maybe Jermaine Burton gets mixed into the offense. They just signed Noah Fant. They got Mike Gesicki. Chase Brown's going to get some targets. Like, you start breaking up this target share. Higgins is going to have to be so fucking efficient and dominate on every single opportunity that he gets just to finish where he's being ranked. Don't do that. Do not do that. I'm not telling you to not pick Higgins. I'm simply telling you, if you're going to go down that road, please value him like in a smart way. Like, take him as like wide receiver 20. He won't be there, but Again, that's why we do the cheese list. All right, next, Smith-Njigba. I don't think people are really paying attention to what's going on here. And when I say that, I mean this. Last year, their offensive coordinator was Ryan Grubb. All right, so what Ryan Grubb likes to do is he's going to run the shotgun. They're going to be in 3 wide receiver sets, and Smith-Njigba is going to roam the slot. So last year, they had Metcalf, Lockett, Smith-Njigba. Smith-Njigba has a great year as like that slot target. He, by the way, had a great year. 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns, played in every game. He had 137 targets. Actually, 73% catch rate, which is really high. That could come down to 65%, and he doesn't replicate these numbers. 6 touchdowns. Made the Pro Bowl. Great year. Here's the problem. Okay, so let's go back to fantasy finishes. All right, let's go back to fantasy finishes. Last year, he finishes as wide receiver 14. This year, he's being ranked as wide receiver 15. Let's go through it. Wide receiver 17. See, the Fantasy Sharks people are the smartest. That's correct. But I don't think another side has him this low. That's right. This number right here is correct. Do not put him in the teens. If you put him here, you're a crackhead. I'm going to tell you why. The offense is completely different this year. Completely different. Now they bring in Clint Kubiak. What does Clint Kubiak like to do? He comes from that Shanahan. By the way, Gary Kubiak's his dad. Used to be the old Texans coach when they had the Steve Slayton, the Arian Foster. What do those guys like to do? Run the ball, play action pass, two tight ends on the field. So we have a slot wide receiver on an offense that they're no longer running through wide receiver sets. So there is no longer a slot wide receiver. You see the problem? Do you see the problem? I'm not telling you Smith-Njigba won't be on the field. I'm not telling you that he's going to fucking suck. What I'm simply telling you is that the offense is completely different. And what they were running before no longer utilizes the one thing that he's good at. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Now, Kupp is also a slot receiver. So the things that Njigba is good at, they brought in a guy who is equally as good as him at the things that he does. Now, Kupp's old and he's hurt. But I think Kupp will have a good year. Like, Kupp, he's going back to the state of Washington. If he has any self-pride, he's angry about what the Rams did. I think Kupp will have a nice year. So, in terms of like, hey, they don't have Metcalf anymore. Well, they brought in Kupp, so there might be a little bit of a drop-off, but not really. They bring in Torrey Horton, who I think will actually be a real factor. My concern is if Smith-Njigba isn't getting the slot reps in terms of what he's good at, he won't be the same player. B, this is now a run-first team. Wasn't the case last year. Last year, they were in shotgun, Ryan Grubb, were airing it out, Geno Smith, which is fucking idiotic, and it's why Seattle didn't make the playoffs. They're making the playoffs this year. They're my pick to win the division. Either way, I think they're a playoff team. Year 2, Mike McDonald. I think their defense is going to be really good and better than it was last year because they brought in a bunch of guys like Lawrence at defensive end from Dallas. They bring in Nick Eamon-Warry at safety. Like, it's a young defense, too, that should be on the rise. I think it's a team that's going to run the ball, play from in front, play action pass. I think Darnold will have a nice year. But I'm simply telling you, like, if Smith-Njigba gets like 900 yards and 5 touchdowns, don't be surprised. And if that's the case, he's not finishing in the teens. Next on the list, we got 2 more. McLaurin. Now, this one should be obvious, given that he's not fucking practicing and he's a diva and he's losing his mind. He used to not be a diva. Now he is. Wants his money. Wants his money bad. So last year he finishes as wide receiver 5. Now he's being ranked 19. So they've already accounted for the dip. Way to go. 21. 18. So 18, 19, 21, 20, whatever. Don't care. Wouldn't take him. Wouldn't take him. So let's just go to McLaurin's numbers. By the way, he's never been an elite wide receiver previously. Last year was his like real first season. So he's got 13 touchdowns last year. Complete outlier. Complete outlier. 7, 4, 5, 5, 4, 13. Now he heads into his age 30 season. During an off season where he's not fucking practicing. So historically, he's right around that 1,000-yard mark. Not anything crazy. Historically, the target numbers have never been through the roof. By the way, it's the same offense. I don't see why that changes. 13 touchdowns in an offseason that he's not practicing? I don't see it. Now, here's another factor. Last year, they did not have a wide receiver 2. Last year, they did not have a wide receiver 2. They had something called Noah Brown. They had something called Zacchaeus. They didn't have a reliable second target, which is why Zach Ertz had the season that he did. Deebo Samuel's the perfect stock market player. When he has a bad year, you should buy him immediately. Last year had a bad year. You should buy him immediately. Deebo Samuel's going to be more involved. So not only did he have 117 targets on a team that didn't have a real number 2 wide receiver, they now bring in Deebo Samuel. He's not practicing. We don't know if he's going to set out the fucking games. He could still do that. He doesn't have a new contract in place. And he's now heading into his age 30 year, coming off a season that was a total outlier. No, thank you. No, thank you. Now, if you're in a fantasy league with smart people and he drops significantly, like all the way down to wide receiver, like a 30, go ahead. If you're in an auction draft and for whatever reason the people in your league are smart and he's around the $15 mark and a $250 budget, go ahead. But otherwise, we're not doing this. Last one. This might be an unpopular opinion. I don't care. It'll end up proving right. You're welcome in advance. DJ Moore. Now, last year, let's go to fantasy finishes. Last year, he finished as wide receiver. By the way, this scoring is a little bit different from my league. I don't think these are quite accurate, but be that as it may. Last year, they're going to be in the rough ballpark. Last year, finishes as wide receiver 22. That was on 140 targets in a fully healthy season. It's a lot of targets. This year, he's being ranked 23. So last year, he finishes as 22. This year, he's being ranked as 23. Do you see how these people are always a fucking year behind? Anyway. 22. Do you see the problem with these people? They're always a year behind. Again, I'm trying to give you the warning signs on why the rest of the industry sucks fucking ass at this. He finishes as wide receiver 22. And then the following year, everybody ranks him as wide receiver 22. That moment in time already happened. You're too late. You're too late. So let's go to Moore's fucking player page, right? Last year, he had 140 targets, which is his second career high other than that one season in Carolina. Okay. Last year, he was still at 70% catch rate. He didn't crack 1,000 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, which isn't anything insane. Here's why I'm concerned. Let's say the Bears offense gets better, because that's the only pathway for Moore to repeat what he's going to do. I think Odunze will be the number 1 wide receiver by the end of the year. Now, maybe that won't be the case by week 1. Again, we'd like the Ricky Bobby approach. If you ain't first, you're last. We're trying to win the league. I would much rather take Odunze. I think Odunze will emerge as the number 1 target in his offense, but that's not the problem. The problem is they didn't just take Odunze last year. They fucking doubled and tripled down, which is what this fucking asshole Poles does. He doesn't build in the offensive line. He gets horny off of these possession guys. They take Luther Burden, who's going to get fucking something. Luther Burden is not going to get 0 receptions. Even if he's barely involved in his offense, it's coming off of those 140 targets for DJ Moore. They take Holston Loveland, who's another guy that is going to get targets. By the way, Swift is going to be involved in the passing game. Cole Kmet will get a few targets. You see where I'm going with this? We're now talking about a team that doesn't have any track record of being good. And even if they are good, there's 800 mouths to feed. I'm adding Loveland into this offense. I'm adding Luther Burden into this offense. I now have year 2 of Odunze, who's going to be the number 1 receiver. I'm not taking DJ Moore inside the top 30. I think he's way too high. Way too high. I think this is probably this could be the last year of DJ Moore in Chicago. And if it's not, it's coming to an end soon. Because I'm just telling you this right now, Luther Burden's a much better talent. He's a knucklehead. I'm not sure he works hard. But he's got more talent than DJ Moore. He's going to get something. Whether it's 40, 50, 60 targets, it's going to be something. Colston Loveland's going to be involved. They didn't use the 9th pick in the draft to not use him. Odunze is going to be better than him. It's a matter of when. See the problem? Okay, there you have it. That's your cheese list for the wide receivers. You let me know what you think. Open to comments, agreements, disagreements, all ears. Got 5 more of these videos to do and then the Matthew Berry Challenge. Anyway, hope you guys have a good fantasy season. If you have any other questions too, I'll answer them. But again, the whole point of the cheese list, we're crossing names off the list. You can cross those names off the list right now. Just remember to thank you or send me a thank you when it comes to fruition. All right. Peace out, Girl Scout.